Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to a special edition to the Southern Baller Show. I am your host, Jared O'Levin Green. Man, I have a special guest here, man. He's like a legend in the color commentating game, just just sports in general as far as information. Um, me personally, I call him the hardest working black man in sports. Emory Hunt, brother, what's going on, man? What's up?
I'm doing fine, Jared, man. I appreciate you bringing me on the show, man. It's a pleasure.
Man, it's a pleasure. The pleasure's all mine. Trust me, man. So I had to get this interview. I was flattered that you took this interview. Like I was telling you offline, man. I really appreciate you, man. Um, but we're just gonna get started, man. Just for those who don't know nothing, which they should. That's their loss. Just let everybody know something about a little bit about yourself. What do you do, and how did you get started?
Well, yeah, currently I'm a color commentator. I do college games on the weekend. I also work as a football analyst for CBS Sports. So you'll see me in studio. You'll see me this year. I did some sideline analyst work for them as well. At the at a FIU Jacksonville State game, and also did the Hula Bowl as well. In addition to doing color commentary in the booth, and also in studio breaking down NFL games and football game plan. I started back in '07, and it was cool because I played college football at University of Louisiana, graduated in '03, coached for a year back at my old high school in New Orleans. Shout out to McMahon High School. And from after that I jumped into recruiting. So I was a recruiter from '04 to 2012. Katrina hit in '05, blew me up to the Northeast. So I've been in the New York City area since '05. I was still recruiting, but the football bug was still getting at me. And I had some opportunities to go coach here in this area locally, but it was kind of like, I don't know if I want to coach.
Right.
But football was still always jumping out, and I was like, the best way to feed that is to start my own website. And footballgameplan.com was born in '07. 2009 we added video on YouTube when nobody was doing video, so we kind of jumped out there first, trying to create a football show where we had suits on and little mini helmets in front of in front of us, the matchups we were talking about, and we covered everybody equally. And we did that. We still kind of do that a little bit, but obviously things have progressed and changed.
Right.
In 2011 we started podcasting when nobody was doing podcasts, and so it's cool to kind of always see what was next and jump out in front, be the first to do it, or be one of the first to do it. And then it just kind of snowballed, man. People that knew me from YouTube channel, that's how I got my first color commentary opportunity. Shout out to the DC Divas, and Boston Renegades was the first live game I called on television. So Women's Tackle Football League. That was huge. That got me the opportunity to call Georgetown football games later that season. And then you see me do Morgan State games. And so it's like Monmouth games. So it just kind of snowballed. And then in 2018, CBS popped on the scene and, wanted me they started bringing me on as a guest. And then boom, here I am full-fledged with CBS Sports since 2020. So it's been fun, man. It's been fun. And that's a little bit, I know it was a little bit long-winded, but it's a little bit about who I am and where I came from.
You good, man. You good. You're definitely letting my audience know like who you are, and of course I know who you are. The people that been following you like me know who you are. But man, the lanes may the Johnny come latelys may not know who you are. So it's a pleasure, man. That's why he's the hardest working black man in sports. That's my nickname for him. So basically, you answered my second question. Basically, I was going to ask you what inspired you being in the football analyst. Basically, your whole football background. From what high school did you go to?
McMahon High School in New Orleans. And here's the thing, what really inspired me to start Football Game Plan was a 2006 draft, and watching the coverage of the draft and seeing how they were talking about Vince Young as if he wasn't good, as if we didn't just watch the greatest college football game we had ever seen, USC and Texas, and they were saying that he couldn't play. And we always said it, what you see is what you're gonna get. Like, if guys can play, they can play. And so, me and my homeboys on the phone, three-way or whatnot, arguing about what we just saw, how people keep talking about knowing they're gonna be wrong. And said, man, what better way let's just get a website. That way we get our thoughts out there. And we also knew, because all of us had football backgrounds, like, man, the game is bigger than the SEC, is bigger than, there's a lot of talent out there. Because a lot of dudes I played with at UL was at the current time starring in either the CFL or in the Arena League when that was still prominent, right? I'm like, man, I know this dude nice, and but he just hadn't gotten the opportunity. He had a couple cups of coffee in the NFL, but I know this dude can play, and I know this dude nice. And so he was like, man, we're just gonna cover it all, from the NFL to women's tackle football to, at the time, the NFL Europe. We covered it all. We're gonna cover it all equally. So if you're a Morgan State fan or a Cleveland Browns fan, you're gonna get 5 minutes of a game preview, and it's gonna be equal. It's all the same. Because the other thing was how you turn into a pregame show. They used to be like 4 hours long, and you see, let's say you're a Ravens fan,
right?
And you're waiting to watch this whole pregame show to see them just preview your Ravens versus Colts matchup or whatnot, and they spend 3 hours and 45 minutes talking about the Cowboys, Patriots, and the Packers. And the last 15 minutes they bring up, oh yeah, the Colts play the Ravens. Oh, I'm gonna just go with the Ravens because they playing at home. Or I like the Colts because the Ravens just can't play well at home. Like, you're like, man, I watched this whole show for 4 hours only for y'all to give us 30 seconds of some throwaway content. So it's like, nah, man, that's so we're gonna try to give everybody equal content across the board, across leagues, across different football lanes. And that's what kind of broke us out, because we was the only one out there doing it. But that's where it started from. Like, man, we want real football talk out there. We could do the X's and O's. We did that. We could do the whiteboard stuff. We did that. We could do film breakdown. We introduced that to people in 2009. Nobody was doing that at the time. And so, but we created something that we wanted to see, that we would watch on TV if we were in charge of running a network. And it blossomed, it boomed, it hit, and we just kind of continued to grow from there.
Yeah, you did, man. I've been following you for years, man. And what impressed me, what hooked me to football game plan was, I remember I was when because you're very busy now, but when we're doing the you're basically mock draft for the teams. I was always used to be waiting for the notification for my Baltimore Ravens, and I remember you remember Guy Starworth. He was the safety for Grant when Devontae Kincaid was there, and you chose him. You basically suggested us to draft him in the 7th round, and I ain't gonna lie, I was like, damn, or daggone, he was right. Like, he's 6'3", physical, plays in the box. You know what I mean? Like another linebacker, he would have been perfect, but he didn't get drafted, which also leads me to next question, with you being talented. And that's another thing. Excuse me if I'm long-winded. You have eyes everywhere as far as football talent. Division I, Division II, Division III, JUCO, women football league, like you said, it don't matter, man. It seemed like you don't miss, man. So my question to you is, why is it that a lot of talented HBCU players hardly never get picked up? Because Guy Starworth never got picked up. Devontae Kincaid, which me and another Louisiana brother that's on my the Southern Baller show, Coast 67 Sports TV, we always say that the biggest travesty as far as on the off season or in the draft, Devontae Kincaid never got drafted ever.
Yeah, so, and he was. I feel like had they beat Arizona that year, which they should have, what I'm saying, that would have given him a little bit more cachet. But he still had enough. They still won the Black College National Championship. I go one step further and say I think another big travesty was Amir Hall. Here he
Yes.
was, highly decorated, HBCU quarterback coming out of Bowie State, all the accolades, all the passing yards, had the height, had the arm, and barely got burned at the NFLPA Bowl, and didn't even get a chance to really get to camp. He had a tryout with the Commanders, and that was it, and never seen the light of day in terms of a pro opportunity. So I think, to be completely honest, I think the reason why all of this is what it is because of the numbers game.
Mm.
And there's only 32 teams,
Right.
and the NFL has the luxury of scraping off the top. So,
Mm.
it's easier for them to focus on the high level guys because there's no more development going on, which is why I said I wrote an article on Football Game Plan about 2016. I may retweet that just because it's still relevant to today, in terms of the need for a developmental league. Now, granted, we got the UFL now. I think that's going to continue to grow and expand. I'm excited for that.
It was good football. It was good.
And so I feel like, because my whole thesis was that article was the NFL. When people say there's not enough talent out there, I know that's BS.
Yeah.
The NFL brings 90 guys to training camp. So right off the bat, you're saying these 90 guys that you're bringing are worthy of putting on an NFL helmet, whether it be just for training camp purposes or whatever. But 90 guys, you're going to cut 45. That 45 you cut, that's your developmental squad. And so you have that already in house. So without those type of opportunities, where you have to keep, because coaches will tell you, man, I wish I could keep all these guys.
Right.
They know just by sake of the numbers, you're not going you're going to have to cut half this roster. And so I think just because it's the numbers game, you don't see that many guys, because you also don't see that many FCS players, D2 players, D3 players, and we know there's guys that can play. But man, if you're able to scrape off the top and get the amount of FBS talent you're able to get, athleticism you're able to get, it's hard to justify, taking a chance on the smaller school guy, that you have to nurture and grow. But you, as the head coach, you may be on the hot seat. You may not have that opportunity to really see that guy fully blossom, and that's why you see the numbers be what they are.
Yeah, man, I agree with you 100%. But my only thing, as far as not destroying your point, because I can't debate that if I wanted to. My thing with some of these coaches, you just a scenario. You drafted defensive tackle from Ball State, and you got this defensive tackle from Alcorn State, probably just as good or even better. If you did your research, if they would have went to Football Game Plan, you know what I mean? Got one of them draft guys, you know what I mean? So, I mean, the information is out here. To me, is no excuse. They just looking at the Division I talent or FCS, you know what I mean? But not sticking in, digging deep into the HBCU or the HBCUs. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. But I'm gonna put you on spot though. Right off from your head, which HBCU player should be drafted this year?
I probably would say, I probably would lean Matthew Foster of Virginia State, the offensive tackle. Supremely long arms, very good footwork. We know big bodies are a premium at the NFL level. You can find skill players all day, but finding the big bodies that can move, that have the length, that have the ability, the athleticism. I think that's one guy that I feel like should get his name called. I did the Virginia State Norfolk State game in the open, that wild finish that went crazy, that crazy ending, and I was just in awe of how Virginia State's offensive line looked just off the bus. I'm like, this looks like an FBS offensive line. And they were able to go toe to toe with Norfolk State. So, but Foster, I feel like, has the requisite size, athleticism, length, to really handle his business. And he plays a position where, this is where NFL teams try to covet the amount of talent. That's why we kind of see a lot more HBCU O linemen get through more so than any other position, because big bodies are a premium. I
Yes,
think
sir.
that's the one. If I had to really answer right now, I would say I would always go with the lineman from the HBCU.
I'm gonna give you mine, again, your eyes are everywhere. I wasn't really looking at. I was looking at that cornerback, defensive
Willie
back,
Drew,
Willie Drew, who played in um
Senior
the
Bowl.
the recent Senior Bowl. He gave up a few plays, but I think with the right coaching, right scheme, he can get that coached up. But my main one, I'm gonna give you two. I'm lying. I'm gonna give you two. It's Sunday out of Anderson, edge from Grambling, and Isaiah Majors, middle linebacker from FAMU. I believe those two um, can definitely make a roster, especially Isaiah Majors. If he can't basically win a starting role, he can definitely be a good special team, good backup player. And Sundiana Anderson, I believe he's a jewel coming off that edge. I want my Baltimore Ravens to get him. I think if he's kind of frail to me, but I think he get a year under him in that weight room, NFL weight room, strength conditioning coach. Just to give you an example, he's going to beat out Dafeowe, in my opinion. He'll definitely beat. I think that highly of him. The talent is there. I could be wrong, but the athleticism and the talent is there, in my opinion. But we're gonna go NFL, right? Which NFL ball club to you probably needs the most, as far as in the draft, has basically need to do the most work?
I would probably say the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Most work on offense because they lost a lot. Defensively, I feel like they have enough still there within the front seven. They need some more beef on the back end in the secondary. We know about quarterback. They need a quarterback. They need a running back. Someone that's going. You lose a game breaker in Saquon. They need a big dog number one receiver. So they have the most work to do.
Yes.
In my opinion, and I feel like that's the team that has to do a lot. And the unfortunate part is, they pick 6, so you're kind of in a weird spot. You don't want to trade down because you never want to trade out of the top 10. It's going to cost you an arm and a leg to trade up, and you need two people you need a willing partner to trade out of the top 3, which will be impossible to trade back to 6. So you kind of stuck in no man's land. You can get an elite player, no doubt. But do you run the risk of trading back into the first round to try to get a quarterback, and which quarterback will fall? Or do you take a guy maybe in round 3 that still might be there, in Jordan Travis, and cultivate him? So they I think they need the most work just based off what they lost, where they stand in the draft, and what the roster currently looks like.
I agree. The Giants definitely need some work, man. They gave that big contract to the quarterback. I'm blanking on his name.
Daniel Jones.
He haven't been playing good, so maybe that's why his name didn't pop up. I don't know. He was a Duke, so that ACC is my division. So, but another question for you. Caleb Williams, I believe I heard you on one show. A lot of the question was presented to you that will Caleb Williams, do the Chicago Bears really need Caleb Williams, or is he going to be a bust? What is your opinion on Caleb Williams?
He's my number 1 quarterback in the class. If I was Chicago, I never would have moved off of Justin Fields. I would have tried to double up at receiver, or either trade down from 1 to 3 or 4 and get another 2 first-round picks after that, and try to double up at receiver. I would have took Neighbors and Harrison Jr. and built around Justin Fields. But since they moved off on him, I'm not as upset that they are in position to take Caleb Williams, because I do think he's an elite talent. He's my number 1 QB. He is someone that plays the game like a Patrick Mahomes. I'm not going to call him a one-to-one to Mahomes. Mahomes is a little bit bigger.
Right.
But in terms of like how he's able to see the field, he sees the field just like Mahomes sees the field. So if you're a receiver running your route, know if you get open, he's going to get you the football. No matter if you're 5 yards in front of him or 50 yards down the field, he has the arm strength and the accuracy to get you the football. So that makes you tougher to defend. And on top of that, he has the athleticism to take off and run and score from anywhere on the field.
I agree with you. I definitely agree with you, man. And the reason why I'm asking you all these questions is because, again, you have been on it. When people was talking about Lamar Jackson wasn't going to be that great coming out of Louisville, you a handful of people, probably like two, you and probably two other people, were the ones out in the forefront saying he's going to be okay. I knew he was going to be okay because he told my Tar Heels up in the ACC. I said that secondary ain't standing a chance. He was like throwing over our defense. So, all the complaints saying he can't throw, you were one of the ones that overlooked them. Like, no, he's gonna be. Even Christian McCaffrey. When people say he's too skinny, he can't play. He's gonna get broken up playing in between tackles. He was the only one that said no. If with his stats that he have, I mean, that's the goodest, that's the best you're gonna get. And you are right. He did well with the Carolina Panthers. Unfortunately, Carolina Panthers are not a playoff a playoff team, but he's doing his thing with the 49ers. So many other players, man, you hit a home runs on as far as analyzing, man. The NFL needs you up there when it's draft time because most of the time, I mean, I'm not saying it's just to blow smoke up, up yourself, man. I haven't really heard you miss anything. I'm sure you got some stuff wrong, but from what I heard, you pretty, even with Anthony Richardson, that was the interview when we was talking to some Colts folk. And that's what my dad loves you. He's a Colts fan. You were like, AR-15 is gonna be okay. Same thing.
He was, and and the reason why I'm laughing and smiling of what you're saying and recalling all of the stuff, because I'm thinking in terms of, man, imagine if I didn't create my own platform and get these thoughts out and say what I was feeling and say what was really on my mind, or truly what I believe in and what I see, right? What if I didn't, take that leap? Then people will be out there just pushing the same tired narrative that dudes can't play. And so with the Anthony Richardson thing, what was so funny about that, because it was July 2022.
Right.
And this before the season. So I was on Sirius XM and they asked me who's my number one quarterback. They this how they preface the question. Who's your number one quarterback? You got Bryce Young, you got CJ Stroud, and you have, I forgot who the other quarterback, Will Levis maybe, and somebody else they mentioned. And I was like, my number one quarterback is Anthony Richardson. He was like, whoa, what are you talking? I was like, and keep in mind, this is when he only played 9 games. And he wasn't even the starter. He was still splitting time with Emory Jones. So this would have been his first. He was going into the season as a full-time starter at this juncture. And everybody was like, thought I was crazy, called me a clickbait artist, blah, blah, blah. And after the first game against Utah, now everybody's talking about him as a Heisman Trophy candidate, and he should be number one. So it's having the confidence that you put in the work and you are honest with yourself. If you see a guy consistently making plays, if he's doing it, then he could do it. And if you're focused on, if you're doing the work properly, and you focus on what a guy can do and how he's doing it and where he has those successes, then you piece that together. You're like, yo, this actually can work. If all he needs is experience, well, he's about to get that this season. At Florida, he's going to play. He's going to be the starter. And so having the confidence to, one, not care what anybody says, because you have that track record of being proven. At the end of the day, you're going to be proven right. And you saw how people clowned me last year with the running back position. No one had Keaton Mitchell in their top 5. No one even knew about Keaton Mitchell. I had him in my top 5. People said I was crazy.
And he doing
Last
wonders for my Ravens, man.
exactly. That is, and it's like, who is this? And here I am with the scouting report. This is where I try to tell y'all. So having the foresight to see it before it happens is it shows you that I put in the work. And when you see the Colts, and I told people like the Colts were gonna make the playoffs, and they came one game short. I feel like if Anthony Richardson was still the quarterback the whole season, they go to the playoffs and they
Yeah.
win the division. It's unquestioned, right? Because they swept Houston, I believe. And so I'm excited for them this year because he only played 2 plays with Jonathan Taylor. So I just feel like the Colts are building something special. They got the right quarterback. The fans love him out there. He plays with he plays like Lamar in terms of the exuberance, the youthful exuberance. You can tell he just loves football,
Right.
and the fans feed off that. And I think they're gonna be fine, man. It's gonna be a fun division to watch.
And I got to get out the way because my dad will get on me if I don't ask you this, man. Who, like, in this draft, who you think the Colts should draft?
I honestly believe they're in a good spot because they're at pick 15, and so they have a chance to take an impact receiver, another one, or if Brock Bowers, for whatever reason, is still there, I wouldn't mind them taking him. If one of the elite corners is still there, I wouldn't mind them going that route as well, or pass rush. So they have a great chance of coming away with another elite talent. I feel like they should go on offense and keep stockpiling legit offensive weapons around your young quarterback. Just how they did for Joe Burrow, just how they did for Justin Herbert when they bring all these tall receivers and keep adding pieces. Keep adding pieces for, Anthony Richardson. We'll get to see him play with Jonathan Taylor. You brought back Michael Pittman. You drafted Josh Downs, who got better on the back end of the season. So you're excited about him coming in. You have good tight ends, but if you can get a game breaker like Bowers, that's huge. You can add another receiver. I know Alec Pierce is there, but you could probably do for an upgrade if one of these elite talents is there. If A.D. Mitchell of Texas is there, you take him. Just keep stockpiling the talent. Make your offense quarterback proof. And so therefore your quarterback doesn't have to feel like he's carrying the weight. He could be a piece of the puzzle. And he's a big piece of the puzzle. He's an athletic piece of the puzzle. And if you have someone like that surrounded by talent, only good things could happen.
Man, well said. Well said. I just during the football season on the phone with Pops, I was like, man, if AR-15 was healthy, I'd be scared of y'all, man. Definitely. Heck, they beat us without our AR-15. So just imagine if they had AR-15, man, healthy. So you're definitely right, man. One more thing, two more things I want to ask you. One of the two is, how does it feel? Let's be honest, man. You're being like just the talent that you have to just sit down, like you said, you do the work, you analyze the talent, you break down their weaknesses and strengths, and then people say, "Oh, the guy don't know what you're talking about," and then later on, they're like, when you're right, they're not necessarily going to say that, "Oh, I was wrong," but they're going to basically, either bite off your work or what you say, or just disregard that you was right. So as a black man, as a brother who knows what he's talking about, just a man in general in sports, that's in my opinion, you're the unspoken talent in this sports commentating world. How does that make you feel, man? Just you just put in the hard work, and people sometimes bite your work or won't give you the respect that sometimes you feel deserved.
It used to bother me in the beginning because you're fighting for that respect. We all fight for respect in every walk of life that we have, or we do, or we participate in. You want that respect that you are doing a good job, or you know what you're doing. You have that level of expertise. But now I just find it hilarious, right? Because, and the good part is, you know deep down that they know where they got that from. And so if they were ever asked to go deeper on why they feel that way, they can't, because it's not their original thought. And so there's a reason why McDowell's is McDowell's and not McDonald's, right?
Right.
It may look like the same thing, but it don't taste like the same thing, and the fans know. And so people will know if everyone starts talking about Keaton Mitchell, even though they didn't say, "Hey, we was wrong for doubting you," or "My bad." They'd say, "Well, Emory had that in the beginning." They'll find the tweet because there's always going to be a tweet. There's always going to be a tweet. There's always going to be a receipt.
I'll be seeing that people
You know,
football game playing guys say that, and yes sir.
And so there's always a receipt, and even though they might not admit it, and it's funny because you saw that recently with this past draft when everybody jumped on me for giving my analysis on the defensive end the Chiefs took in the first round. I wasn't as high on him, and everybody's like, "Well, what did the league get wrong, Emory?" As if I was, try to sun me on some like,
Right.
obviously the league, and fast forward to him being an inactive player in the playoffs. This is the first round pick at defensive end. You need help. He was inactive. He got active for the Super Bowl because the guy got hurt against the Ravens, but didn't do much all season. And so now, then hey man, we were over aggressive in saying that you didn't know what you were talking about. Our bad. You were right. Even though it's still only his first year, he can end up being an all-pro. I could end up being wrong. But the fact that people were so adamantly calling me out, from people from networks to anonymous scouts, and as if one, I'm not going to defend myself because I'm always defend myself. And then two, as if I don't have a track record of ended up being right at the end of the day. So you might want chill in terms of jumping out when I say something that you may take as wild, because give it time. I may be right at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? And you're gonna look bad. And so it's just funny. This is par for the course. People don't understand the work that goes in to doing what I do and the depth of the work, and understand, like, if I say something, best believe it's coming from an informed place. And it carries over. And I'm always going to be about the long game. So I may say something now and I may wait in it. Prime example. I want to say it was the 2017 draft, and my top 4 quarterbacks that year: Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Kaiser, PJ Walker. So obviously I whiffed on Deshaun Kaiser. For whatever reasons he didn't pan out, count that as a whiff. We had to wait until 2020 to people be like, "Wow, PJ Walker could play." Well, I said that back in 2017, but he didn't get the opportunity because he was on and off the Colts practice squad. He got a chance to play, and then now everybody's like, he's the MVP of the XFL. Well, imagine if he would have got that opportunity over Trubisky to be an NFL quarterback right out of the gate. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes it'd be a delayed gratification. It may not be right, not like with Carson Wentz. I had a 3rd round grade on Carson Wentz, and people was like, "This dude doesn't know what he's talking about." Fast forward to now, here we are.
Back up. So, and I'm sorry for interrupting you, but I bullcrap you not. And my family, who are sports fans, they laugh at me when I will always say, "Philip Walker's the man." And I was getting like, "Man, he can't play, whatever." He went to the USFL or
the XFL.
XFL and started lighting it up. And then he was signed to a team and he won some games as a backup. So everybody was like, I said, "I told you." And guess who I referred everybody to?
So sometimes it's that, I'm glad I've reached the professionalism point to where I'm not. Now I'll clap back every now and then if they catch me in a good mood. You know what I'm saying? If we're late, you know what I'm saying? I'm watching TV with everybody else. Everybody, we all, how everybody kind of watching the same game, and like, all right, somebody snapping it, I'll fire back, clap back, right? But for the most part, I've reached that professionalism part where I just like, I don't let it bother me like I used to, when I used to be in there defending the comments and trying to defend your point to people that won't ever see your point of view. Because they didn't put in the work that you put in, so they're not going to see what you see. So I let it roll off. But I do know when they see me in public, and I'm talking about the people that are my contemporaries, and they know they said some foul stuff, online, they tend to, be very polite in public. So
Oh, that's how it is, man. That's how it is. They'll say a whole bunch of jacked up things to you on the internet, but especially if you were right, they when they see you, they're kissing your tail, man, most of the time. So unfortunately, that's how things are. But one last question, man. I'm gonna get you out of here. Get you out of here. I know you're a very busy brother. Um, Most of my people that or my followers that listen to me are Baltimore Ravens fans, so they're gonna get on me if I don't ask you this. Um, as far as NFL, um, part of my show, uh, who would you suggest the Baltimore Ravens to draft this year?
any wide receiver, like, listen, because they're at pick 30, but the Ravens, kind of like Pittsburgh, kind of like um who else is it's usually those who always stick out to me that end up drafting good players regardless of where they are, because some good players gonna fall and they gonna get them and they gonna end up being an all pro. So I feel like you saw what happened when you added a Zay Flowers to Lamar Jackson. Don't think that, okay, you got enough. If
We
one of
don't.
these top elite talents are there at receiver, take them. Just like the Colts. Cornerback, you see, that's a position where the Ravens tend to get beat up a lot. Cornerback, if one of these elite corners is there, take them. So corner and receiver to me are more pressing needs and more people want to give on to, because that's where the Ravens really need to stockpile athletes and talent, guys that can score and guys that can take the ball away. Everything else they seem to ace. Like, I don't care who they pick up as a pass rusher. I know the dude gonna end up with like 6 sacks, right? You know what I'm saying? I don't care who they pick up as an offensive lineman. The dude gonna end up blocking well because Lamar Jackson helps out his offensive line because he can get out of dodge. I don't care who they pick up at running back. I know they have a good eye for that. It's like the Steelers and receivers. I don't care who they pick up. The dude gonna end up being a very talented wide receiver. So for me, Baltimore has to really focus on continuing to nail the receiver position and also at corner. Pick up 2 elite talents if you can, and that's what I would do with pick 30.
You know what? My last show a couple of weeks ago, we had a mock draft show, and I picked second round. If he's still there, he might fall, but I doubt it. But just it was my mock draft, right? I had me picking uh Florida State. I'm blanking on his name. Florida State wide receiver, and
Keon Coleman.
Keon Coleman, and then second Cooper DeJean in the second round, hoping he'd fall because he had an injury. So, but the Baltimore front office, if the best player is available, get him. So, hopefully, if he falls that far, which I doubt, go ahead and get him. But a lot of my fan base will battle you or disagree as far as getting wide receiver. A lot of them have an offensive lineman on their mock drafts because, especially at right tackle, you know what I mean? It's been up and down. Morgan Moses did okay, and then left tackle, Ronnie Stanley wasn't, healthy all year. So a lot of people, Baltimore Ravens fans, will rather have an offensive lineman. But I agree with you. I think we'll figure it out sooner or later. An offensive lineman, if the front office don't be cheap. We need to get a wide receiver for Lamar. We just can't put subpar talent at wide out and expect him to, be Mr. Comeback every time. So I agree with you.
Yeah, just think about it. It's week 9, and you out there worrying about why they can't score. You ain't worrying about who's at right tackle. Like, you really don't care. You just like, why can't we find someone outside of Zay Flowers who's getting open? You got Mark Andrews. You got great tight ends. You got 3 good tight ends. Add another elite player at wide receiver, a bigger body wide receiver that's elite. That's something he's never had, and you have a chance to do that in this draft. If a Brian Thomas is there, Keon Coleman is there, A.D. Mitchell, kind of like C.D. Lamb, where he can catch and run. Burton out of Alabama is another very explosive wideout that can play. He's physical, he's tough. Give me those dudes 10 times out of 10.
I agree with you, brother. I agree with you. But Emory, man, again, it was a pleasure having you on my platform, man. It again, I was shocked when you said, "Yeah, let's go ahead and do the interview," man. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, man. I ain't ashamed to say I was geek, brother. So, let everybody know where they can meet you, man.
Follow me on Twitter at FBallGamePlan. They can subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/footballgameplan. Show us some love. Pick up the draft guide that you see right there, footballgameplan.com/2024 draft guide. Over 900 individual scouting reports. So someone's going to either get drafted or be an undrafted free agent for Baltimore, and you'll find a scouting report on them, just like we did for Owen Wright, just like we did for Keaton Mitchell, and a lot of other these players that no one knows who they are, but we got a report on them, which is why the Ravens tend to always grade high for me. It's almost like they bought the draft guide, right? So, but I like the
You
fact that
probably do.
Baltimore
Mhm.
does a great job in selecting talent. So that's where you can find my work, and catch me on CBS Sports HQ for days 2 and 3 of the draft this year.
Yeah, so y'all heard what he said. It's down below in the message there. Footballgameplan.com. Get your copy of the football game plan to 2024 draft guide before the draft hits the end of this month. It's man, like this brother knows what he's talking about. But again, this interview was a pleasure. Emory, again, keep doing what you're doing, brother. All us true football heads, especially black men out here that love the sport, and we're proud of you, man. So keep doing what you're doing.
I appreciate that, man. Thanks for the support. Thanks for the props. And it's guys like yourself that I love to see getting into the space, because we need more of you out there doing what you're doing to get into the content creation space, especially involving football and just talking football like that. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what's needed out here. So I'm glad to see you not only reached out, but also that you're continuing to build something that I know is going to be sustainable for you in the long term.
I appreciate those kind words, brother. I appreciate you. I will. I'm a small fish now, but I'm gonna get there, man. I'm gonna get there. But again, good interview, man. Y'all share, subscribe, like. Y'all have a blessed day.